You can call me Mystic Mike because I predict these things.
Joaquin Buckley takes on Colby Covington in the main event of UFC Fight Night Tampa, Florida this Saturday. Very entertaining main event fight between two guys with pretty big, brash personalities. These guys are going to have a lot to say on the mic. Not sure if they're going to do a press conference, but be very entertaining to hear what these guys have to say back and forth. This is kind of a do-or-die fight for Colby Covington. He's 3-2 in his last 5 fights, spanning back about 5 years, so hasn't been the most active guy in the world, which is frustrating. He's about to turn 37 in February, so 5 fights over your athletic prime is it's just very frustrating. I feel like you're leaving a lot on the table, a lot to be desired in terms of career accomplishments. But already had his 3 title fights, his three chances at the welterweight strap, 2 against Kamaru Usman, 1 against Leon Edwards. Last fight against Leon Edwards was pretty pathetic. We didn't see the vintage Colby Covington that we're used to seeing, somebody who pushes the pace and gets in your face. Was wanting to see that version against Leon to really threaten with his grappling, see if Leon could defend the takedowns, because we saw how well Bilal did in hindsight. But you can argue he won one of those Kamaru Usman fights, but it is what it is. The fight against Leon Edwards, it looked like Colby Covington has started to slow down, doesn't really trust his chin anymore, and maybe the age is getting to him. So I'm going to go with Joaquin Buckley in this one. Joaquin Buckley, he comes to take your head off. He's not there to point strike like Leon Edwards. He's not there to tap and move, win rounds. He's coming to cave your face in with his punches. He's shown really good takedown defense as well. Also got takedowns of his own against Nursultan Ruzaboev in their fight. So very explosive guy. Was losing going into the Stephen Thompson 3rd round, I think it was. Ended up just going for broke, throwing punches like crazy. Ended up catching Stephen Thompson, putting him out. So I just feel like Joaquin Buckley is too aggressive on the feet. He's got too much power. He's just too athletic to get pushed around by Colby Covington, in my opinion. Shorter guy, stocky, big for the weight class, very strong. I just don't see Colby Covington being able to take him down to the ground. Colby Covington's 5'11", Joaquin Buckley 5'10". Joaquin Buckley is going to have a 4-inch reach advantage, though, 76 inches to Colby Covington's 72. So I think that's going to be a big factor in this fight. Is not only is Joaquin Buckley the much better striker, much more powerful striker, but he's also going to have a significant reach advantage against Colby Covington. Colby Covington, great fighter, can mix it up really well. Hasn't shown the best ability to take a shot as of late. He has a propensity to get chinned, put on his butt a few times. He was put on his butt by George Masvidal. I'm not very high on George Masvidal. I think Colby Covington could have and should have put him away. I think if it was the Colby Covington of 4 or 5 years ago, he probably would have put George Masvidal away, but didn't see as much success taking down George Masvidal as I would have liked to have seen. Like I said, he was getting hit. He did get dropped. I just think George Masvidal's over the hill. So I don't really rate that performance very, very high. Again, you look at his performance against Leon Edwards. I think Buckley beats Leon Edwards. I think that he would push him against the cage, pressure him so much, be landing a lot of punches. I don't think Leon would be able to take him down. So I think Buckley wins that fight. In order for Colby Covington to be successful in his fights, he has to be able to get your respect on the feet. He puts a lot of volume out there. He threatens with his takedowns. Very good wrestler. Great ability to get people to the ground when he tries, unlike the Leon Edwards fight. But I feel like his takedown threat really opens up his hands. He's got good cardio. He'll throw little pitter-patter punches. He won't put full force into him. He'll just kind of keep fighters guessing, like, is he gonna throw? Is he gonna shoot? But I just feel like at this point in his career, especially after what we saw against Leon Edwards, he's just not going to be able to keep that same pace. He didn't have it against George Masvidal. He didn't have it against Leon Edwards. Last time we really saw that type of performance from him was against Kamaru Usman, and that was 3 years ago, over 3 years ago. So hasn't been the most active. Joaquin Buckley's been very active. He's been on an absolute tear since he dropped down to 170. He's got 5 wins, 3 finishes. Since he dropped down to welterweight, that was in May of 2020, so he's had 5 fights against very good competition. Alex Morono, Vicente Luque. Vicente Luque's back on track after we saw last night. Looked like vintage Vicente Luque again, so I think that's a very good win for him. Nursultan Ruzaboev, that guy's like 6'5", decent grappler. Was able to control him and beat him up on the ground. And then Stephen Thompson, the better striker, probably one of the best strikers in the UFC. One of the best strikers at welterweight. He was beating up Joaquin Buckley, but what I like to see in that fight is Joaquin Buckley never gave up. He knew he was down. He knew he needed to finish, and he bit down on his mouthpiece and went after it and got it. So I feel like if he's down in this fight with Colby Covington, I feel like he'll be able to change the momentum with the power that he carries in his hands. I just don't think Colby Covington is coming into the UFC anymore with that swagger that he has. The confidence to be able to push that pace on guys now that he's almost 37 years old. He's taken a lot of damage. I just don't see him being able to put that pressure on somebody like Joaquin Buckley, who's such a threat, who can change the course of the fight with one punch. I think if he stays in the pocket like he does and extends his combinations, I think Joaquin Buckley is going to be able to catch him. In order for him to take down Joaquin Buckley, he's going to have to pressure him, get close to him, push him against the cage, try to clinch with him at the cage, get his takedown there, or just be shooting naked takedowns out in the middle of the octagon, because I don't think that he's going to be able to get close enough without taking damage to get a shot in on Joaquin Buckley. And like I said earlier, Joaquin Buckley's a big, athletic dude. He's 30 years old, almost 7 years his junior. I just don't think at this point in Colby Covington's career he can take down somebody like Joaquin Buckley and control him on the ground. I think that is his pathway to victory. If he can wear down Joaquin Buckley over a 5-round fight, damage him somewhat on the feet, but at least keep him guessing on the feet, mix in the grappling, mix in the takedowns, open up his strikes. I think that's his pathway to victory. But just after his last 2 performances and just his inactivity in the sport, I just don't see him getting this done against Joaquin Buckley, who's surging at this point. He's riding on a lot of momentum, 5-fight winning streak. He wins this fight, then we're talking, title contention, 1 or 2 more fights before he gets a title shot. So Joaquin Buckley, barely into his prime, 30 years old. He's going to be making drastic improvements. We've already seen that in his career. Seems like every fight he's looking better. He's only going to be getting better every camp, every fight. Whereas Colby Covington, I think he's kind of at the end of his road. He's not going to be. Is he going to be training as hard as a young and hungry Joaquin Buckley? I doubt it. He's made his paydays. He's made a lot of money. I just don't think we're going to see any new wrinkles in Colby's game. He's not going to come out and be this fantastic striker all of a sudden. His best tools are his grappling and his pace, his cardio. He's got a style that you can develop a pretty good game plan against. If you've got decent grappling, you're patient, wait for his shots, defend his shots, hurt him on the feet. He was taking a lot of leg kicks from George Masvidal, so I think Joaquin Buckley will look to throw his big punches, but also start chopping at the legs of Colby Covington. He's not the biggest welterweight. He's one of those guys who walks around naturally around that, probably 180, 185, so he's not cutting tons of weight, so he's not going to be as big as Joaquin Buckley, and he's got pretty tiny legs, I would say. I think that Joaquin Buckley can beat up his legs, take away a lot of his movement, take away a lot of his explosive power to where he can't shoot for takedowns very well. I am a little concerned with it being Joaquin Buckley's first main event against somebody like Colby Covington, who's going to be pushing the pace and looking to shoot takedowns and really tire out his opponent. But again, I think Joaquin Buckley is going to be able to keep him at bay and can kind of keep that pressure off him and dictate the pace in this fight to where Colby's not really able to wear on him as much. But not the best opponent that you want to be going up against when you're testing yourself in 5 rounds. If vintage Colby shows up where he's coming out like a bat out of hell and pushing a high pace, it could spell disaster for Joaquin Buckley if he gets tired towards the end of the rounds, where Colby Covington finds success with his takedowns and is able to dominate him on the ground and beat him up there and control the fight there. So it's time for Colby Covington to put up or shut up. He does a lot of talking on the internet, does a lot of trolling, doesn't do a lot of fighting as of late. So if he loses this one against Joaquin Buckley, that makes him 3-3 in his last 6 fights, spanning about 5 years. So he's looking at kind of the gatekeeper status in the welterweight division after this one. I don't see a lot of big fights for him if he loses this one. He's been given a lot of high-profile fights in the UFC already, so I see him kind of getting fed to the wolves at welterweight after this, and letting a lot of these young and up-and-comers make a name off of him. But I'm going to go with Joaquin Buckley in this one. I just think he's going to have too much power on the feet. He's going to get too much respect from Colby Covington early, which is going to deter him from getting his volume going and his pressure going, and really get him second-guessing, getting in close to shoot for takedowns. So I'm gonna go with Joaquin Buckley. I think he can chin Covington. Like I said earlier, he's shown a propensity to get hit, and hit hard. So I think Joaquin Buckley could knock him out in this one. If not, probably a decision. Thanks, guys.